I still remember the coldness in their voices. "You need to leave by the end of the week. Sasha needs your room." Jacob's tone was firm, absolute, like he was delivering an office memo instead of throwing his teenage stepdaughter out onto the street. My mother stood beside him, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the floor. I searched her face for hesitation, for guilt, for anything that said she didn't agree with this. But she just sighed. "It's only temporary, honey. We need to make room for our real grandkids." Real grandkids. That word hit me harder than the eviction notice. I had been expecting something like this for years, maybe not in this exact way, but I had always known, deep down, that I wasn't really part of their family. Jacob wasn't my father. He had married my mother when I was still a baby, after my biological father passed away in a car accident. But he never treated me like his own. And neither did my half-sister, Sasha. She was 6 years older than me, Jacob's real daughter, his golden child. When she got pregnant at 24, suddenly the entire world revolved around her. She and her boyfriend had been living in a small apartment, but she didn't feel safe staying there alone while pregnant. Her boyfriend traveled for work, and she wanted to be around family. So my parents had a simple solution: kick me out and give her my room. Never mind that she already had a room in the house. Never mind that I was still in high school. Never mind that it was the middle of finals week and I had nowhere to go. They didn't care. I wanted to fight back, to scream, to cry, to demand why my own mother was siding with them. But I already knew the answer. I wasn't part of their family, so I packed my bags and walked out the door. No one stopped me. I don't know what I would have done if it weren't for my best friend, Emma. When I showed up at her house with nothing but a backpack and swollen eyes, she didn't even hesitate. "Come inside," she said. "You can stay as long as you need." Her parents were just as welcoming. They didn't ask a million questions. They just made up the guest room, gave me a plate of food, and let me breathe. For the first time in my life, I felt like someone actually wanted me around. But it wasn't easy. I had no money, no job, no way to pay for college. Emma's parents were kind enough to let me stay rent-free, but I couldn't ask them to pay for my education. So I worked hard. I applied for every scholarship I could find, pulled extra shifts at a coffee shop, and somehow managed to get into a decent university. It wasn't my first choice. It wasn't even my second, but it was mine. Meanwhile, my parents never reached out. No calls, no texts, not even a fake happy birthday message. They had erased me from their lives, and I had no choice but to do the same, until 1 year later my mother suddenly emailed me. The email sat in my inbox like a ticking bomb. "We miss you. Jacob, Sasha, and I would love for you to come home this weekend so we can talk and make things right." I stared at it, rereading every word. "We miss you." Since when? They hadn't called me once in the past year. Not after they threw me out, not after I graduated, not on my birthday, not on Christmas. I had been nothing but a ghost to them. Now, suddenly they wanted to make things right. I didn't believe it. 3 days later, another email came. This one was longer. "Sweetheart, I know things were difficult between us, but we've had time to think. We regret how we handled everything. Family should stick together. Please come home." Family. That word made my skin crawl. Another email came a day later, then another, each one more desperate than the last. Something was wrong. They didn't just want me back. They needed me back. But why? The truth came 2 days later. My phone rang in the middle of the afternoon, an unfamiliar number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something inside me said to answer. "Hello?" For a moment, silence. Then a trembling voice, thick with emotion. Is this really you?" "Who is this?" I asked cautiously. "We're your grandparents," the woman on the other end whispered. "Your mother's parents. We've been trying to find you. I nearly dropped the phone. I had been told my whole life that these people abandoned my mother when she got pregnant with Sasha, that they never wanted anything to do with us. Yet here they were, sounding like they had been waiting years for this moment. We only just found out what happened to you. The woman, my grandmother, continued, her voice thick with sadness. We're so sorry, sweetheart. We had no idea. No idea about what? I asked hesitantly. And then they told me everything. My mother had lied to me. Her parents never abandoned her. They had actually supported her when she got pregnant with Sasha. They had offered to pay for everything, her education, the baby's expenses, on one condition. She had to stay away from Jacob, because Jacob was an addict. They had grown up with him, had seen the kind of trouble he got into. He was reckless, unstable. They didn't want him anywhere near their daughter or grandchild. But my mother refused. She loved Jacob. She chose him over them. Years later, when she was married to my biological father, she started an affair with Jacob. When she got pregnant with me, she had to confess. My father left her, not because he didn't want me, like she had always claimed, but because she had betrayed him. When my father died, my grandparents tried to reach out, but Jacob wouldn't let them. And then, the biggest shock, the house my parents lived in, the one they kicked me out of, it wasn't even theirs. My grandparents bought it for them. They had done it in hopes of mending the relationship. But my mother took the house and still refused to let them back into her life. And now, after all these years, my grandparents had finally found out what she had done to me. They were furious. She threw you out of the house we paid for? My grandfather growled. Then they can leave too. My grandparents went to my parents' house the next day. They told them, in no uncertain terms, that they had 1 month to move out. Jacob raged. My mother cried. Sasha begged. It didn't matter. You threw out our only other grandchild, my grandmother said coldly. Now it's your turn to leave. That was why my mother had emailed me, not because she regretted what she had done, but because she was about to lose everything. The next email I received from her was not an apology. It was hate. I wish I never had you. I wish you had died in that car accident with your father. The words should have hurt, but they didn't, because I didn't care anymore. She wasn't my family. Emma, her parents, my grandparents, they were my family now. The people who actually loved me. I told my grandparents exactly what I wanted. Make them leave. It wasn't an easy decision. A part of me wondered if I was being too cruel. But then I remembered I had been 18, still in high school, when they threw me out without hesitation. Had begged them to let me stay. They didn't care. Now, it was their turn to beg. And I didn't care. The eviction process took time, but my grandparents handled everything. Jacob and Sasha tried to fight it, but there was nothing they could do. My grandparents owned the house. When the deadline came, my mother sent one last email. You're a disgrace. You betrayed us. I didn't respond. Now I'm sitting in what used to be my childhood home, but it finally feels like home. My grandparents live here now, and this Thanksgiving, we're having dinner together. Me, them, Emma, and her parents. The house is warm, filled with laughter and love. For the first time in my life, I feel safe. I have never felt happier, and I never have to look back again. Thank you for watching, if you haven't subscribed yet. Please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.